Here's our Chapter 7 study guide answer key, starting with our first page of one-step equations. Looking at number 1, we have x plus 3 equals 8. We are going to subtract 3 from both sides of the equal sign. And on the left side, they're going to cancel out. And we are left with x equals 5. Number 2, we are going to move this 5 away from our h so that we have h alone, and it's going to end up with 6 equals h. If you flip them around and got h equals 6, that is also correct. Number 3, we have y minus 6 equals 9. We're going to add 6 to both sides of our equal sign. And on the left, they're going to cancel out. And we are left with y equals 15. Number 4, we have 12 equals b minus 5. We are going to add 5 to both sides of our equal sign so that we are left with 17 equals b. Number 5, 3x equals 12. We're going to divide both sides by 3 to get our x by itself. And 12 minus 3 or 12 divided by 3, is 4. Number 6, we have 8 equals 2c. We are going to divide both by 2 to get our c by itself. And that will give us 4 equals c. Or if you flipped it around, c equals 4. For number 7, we rewrote it as x over 4 equals 5. We are going to multiply both sides by 4 in order to cancel out our fraction. So then we have x equals the answer of 5 times 4, which is 20. Number 8, we have x over 5 equals 6. We're going to multiply both sides by 5 to cancel out our fraction. So that we have x equals 6 times 5, which is 30. So x equals 30. That is the first page of our study guide. Moving on to page 2, we still are doing one-step equations. So focusing on question number 9, we are going to subtract 62 from both sides. And that is going to give us w equals 28. 28. For number 10, we're going to subtract 6.2 from our right side to cancel out, so that we have s alone. And on our left side, we're going to subtract 6.2 as well. And that is going to leave us with 19.1 equals s. If you flipped them around and had s equals 19.1, that also works. Number 11, we have 24 equals t plus 5. We're going to subtract a 5 from both sides, and we are left with 19 equals t, because our 5's cancel out. If you flipped around and had t equals 19, that is also correct. Number 12, we have y plus 1/3 equals 1/3. If we subtract this 1/3 from this side, they're going to cancel out. And when we subtract 1/3 from this side, we are left with 0. Y equals 0. Number 19, we're going to take 12c and divide it by 12. In order to get c by itself, we have to divide 48 by 12 as well. And when you do 48 divided by 12, you get 4. So C equals 4. Looking at 20, we need to divide 25V by 25 to get V by itself. When you divide 5 by 25, you're going to get a fraction. And we can simplify that to 1 over 5. If you left it as 5 over 25, that is okay. Just remember, you can always simplify. Skipping ahead to number 24. In order to get k by itself, we need to multiply both by 4, right? To cancel out our 4s. We have to multiply our 13 by 4 as well. And that's going to give us k equals 52. For number 26, we have to multiply both sides by 12 in order to get our h by itself. And when you multiply 52 times 12, you get 624 equals our h. If you flipped around and had h equals 624, that also works. Looking at number 27, we have w over 12 equals 7. So we're going to multiply both sides by 12. And when we do that, our 12s will cancel out over here. And 7 times 12 is going to give us 84. And that is what our w is. 84 equals w. For 28, we have x over 2 equals 20. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2 in order to get our x by itself. And when you multiply 20 times 2, you get x equals 40. Same type of problem in this one. We have h over 3 equals 10. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3 in order to cancel out our 3's. So then we have h equals 10 times 3, which is 30. Here's page number 2 of the study guide. Looking at our third page and question 30, this begins our story problems and creating equations from the information we are given. So Bethany bought a box of markers. She gave 6 markers to her friend. If Bethany now has 52 markers, how many markers were in the box she bought? So we're looking for an original amount. So we're going to use M to represent the markers. The starting amount is unknown, but we know she gave away 6 markers. So her starting amount lost 6, so we're going to say M minus 6, and it equals her end amount of 52. To figure out how many she started with, we're going to add 6 to both sides. And that gives us M equals 58 markers to start. Number 31, Samantha brought a bucket of shells home from the beach. She gave 12 shells to her brother. If she now has 47 shells, how many shells did she bring home from the beach? So it's going to be the same type of problem as number 30. We are looking for the amount she started with when she got home from the beach. So we'll use S for Samantha, and we're going to subtract 12 from the shells that she gave to her brother, and we know she has 47 now. So that's what we'll equal. To figure out how many she started with, we'll add 12 to both sides, and it'll give us S equals 59. Number 32, after buying a jacket that cost $47, Marilyn had $6 left in her wallet. Write and solve an equation to find the amount of money Marilyn had in her wallet before she bought the jacket. So again, we're looking for the original amount she had. So we'll use M for Marilyn. And we are going to subtract $47 that she spent on the jacket. And it's going to equal $6 because that's how much she had left in her wallet. To solve this, we're going to add 47 to both sides. And we will get M equals 53. Number 33, Isaiah earned 96 points on his math test. This is 11 more points than the number of points he earned on his history test. Write and solve an addition equation to find the number of points Isaiah earned on his history test. Okay, so we know he earned 96 points on his math test, and that it is 11 points more than the number he scored on his history test. So we're going to let H represent his history test, and then we're going to add 11 for those 11 more points he scored. And that's what he got on his math test, was 96. So in order to solve what he got on his history test, we're going to subtract 11 from both sides, and we will show H, the history test, equals an 85. Number 34, Jordan runs 5 more miles per week than his brother. Jordan runs 17 miles per week. Write and solve an equation to find how many miles does his brother run. So we'll start with B for his brother as an unknown. And we know that Jordan runs 5 more, so we're going to add 5. And that's going to equal his 17 miles per week. So when we solve this, we're going to subtract 5 from both sides, and that's going to give us B equals 12. So his brother runs 12 miles per week. That's the first page of our story problems. Moving on to the second page of story problems. Question number 35 says, the difference between the greatest and least weights of puppies in a shelter is 28 pounds. The lightest puppy weighs 4 pounds. Write and solve a subtraction equation to find the weight of the heaviest puppy. So we know the difference means subtraction. And if the difference between the greatest and least weights is 28, 28 will go at the end of our equation. That's what it equals. And we'll use P for puppy. And when you subtract 4 from P, because 4 is the least, we have P minus 4 equals 28. And when we solve this, we'll figure out that P equals 32. So the heaviest dog at the shelter is 32 pounds. Number 36, Kylie is 47 years old. She is 13 years older than her brother. Write and solve an equation to find how old her brother is. So we use K because of Kylie, and her brother is going to be K. We don't know how old he is, but we know that Kylie has 13 years on him. So we're going to say K plus 13 is equal to her age of 47. When we solve this, we're going to subtract 13 from both sides, and we will find out her brother is 34 years old. For number 37, Tomas earned $38.25 for cleaning the garage. He was paid $4.25 per hour. Write and solve an equation to find how many hours it took him to clean the garage. So we're going to show this by saying $4.25 per hour, but we don't know how many hours it took him. So we're going to use the variable H for hours. And we know he ended up making $38.25. Once we have 4.25 times H equals 38 1/4, we're going to divide both by $4.25 or 4.25. So we get H by itself. And when we divide 38.25 4.25 divided by 4.25, we'll find out it equals 9. So he worked 9 hours. For number 38, there were 214 students that voted for Jameson to be the student council president. This is 1/3 of the number of students that voted. Write and solve an equation to find the number of students who voted. So we can kind of take it straight from the text and say 1/3 of total students, and we're going to use S for total students. So 1/3 S is equal to 214. Now if we divide both by 1/3, we should be able to figure out how many total students. Now remember, when we divide fractions, we are actually multiplying by the reciprocal or the inverse when we flip the fraction upside down. So I'm going to show that by writing 3/1 and multiply that so that these cancel out. And when we multiply 214 by 3/1, we will figure out that the total number of students equals 642. So there were 642 total students that voted. Number 39, Amiko needs to go to the dentist. It takes her 70 minutes to get there if she rides her bike. This is twice the time it would take if she took the bus. Write and solve an equation to find how long it takes Amiko to get to the dentist by bus. So we know that is 2 times longer on bike. So we know that it takes her 70 minutes. So we'll have equals 70. But for our left side, we are going to say 2x, because 2 stands for twice the amount of time. So once we have 2x equals 70, then we can divide by 2 and divide by 2, and x will equal 35, which means it takes her 35 minutes to get to the dentist by bus. On to the next page, we have a couple more story problems. Looking at number 40, Fred is making a bouquet of roses. The roses cost $1.68 each. How many roses did Fred use if the bouquet cost $13.44? So we know the total equals $13.44. And we want to know how many roses he bought. So we'll take the cost of roses, $1.68, and we'll use R as a variable. Now we need to get our variable by itself, so we're going to divide by 1.68 on both sides. And when we do 13.44 divided by 1.68, we will see that R is equal to 8. So he bought 8 roses that cost $13.44. For number 41, Miles spent $22.50 on rides at the carnival for his grandchildren. Each ride costs $1.25. Write and solve an equation to find out how many rides he paid for in all. So they want to know, they spent $22.50 total. So we'll have that at the end again. And we want to know how many rides he rode, or all the grandchildren rode, for $1.25. So we show it with $1.25 R representing the amount of rides equals $22.50 for the total amount spent. So we're going to divide both by $1.25. And when we do $22.50 divided by $1.25, it's going to show that R is equal to 18. For the last story problem, there were 196 students that participated in a cleanup event at a local lake. This is 1/4 of the entire student population. Write and solve an equation to find the number of students at this school. So just like the 1/3 problem earlier with the students who voted. We are going to use 1/4 of the entire school population. So we'll go 1/4 S equals 196. And to divide by 1/4, we have to multiply by the inverse or the flipped. So it's going to be 4/1 times 1/4, which cancels out. And when we multiply 196 times 4/1, we are going to get 784 for our total school population. Now moving on to our two-step equations. With number 43, we have 5n plus 6 equals 26. We want to start by getting that 6 out of there, so we will subtract 6 from both sides of the equal sign. So we are left with 5n equals 20. Then we are going to divide both sides by our 5 to get n alone. And that leaves us with n equals 4. Number 44, we have 8 plus d over 9 equals 17. We're going to start by moving that 8 again, which will cancel out. We'll subtract 8 from the right side of the equal sign as well. So now we have d over 9 equals 9. D over 9 is a fancy way of saying d divided by 9. So we want to do the opposite, and we are going to multiply by 9. So when we multiply by 9, it cancels out our fraction. We have to do this to the right side as well. So d is equal to 9 times 9, which is 81. Moving on to 45, 7a equals 3a plus 16. This one could be a little tricky, but if you remember our rules for combining like terms, we are going to subtract this 3a from the right side, and we can subtract it from 7a. It'll cancel out on the right side of the equal sign, but on this side, it will give us 4a, and what's left on the right side is 16. For our next step, we want to get a alone, so we'll divide both sides of the equal sign by 4, and that gives us a equals 4. Looking at number 46, we have 9a plus 12 equals 21. We're going to start by subtracting 12 from both sides to get our variable alone on the left with 9. So we have 9a equals 9. Next step, we will divide both sides by 9 to get rid of the 9 attached to our variable a. When we divide 9 by 9, we see that a is equal to 1. Looking at number 47, we have g over 12 minus 3 equals 1. We are going to start by adding 3 to both sides to cancel out this left side. So we have g over 12 equals 4. Now to get rid of our fraction, we want to multiply both sides by 12. And that'll cancel out our fraction and leave us with just g on the left side. And when we multiply 4 times 12, we'll see that g is equal to 48. Number 48, 6 plus k over 4 is equal to 13. We're going to start by moving this 6 to the other side. When we subtract 6 from both sides, we see that k over 4 is equal to 7. Then to get rid of our fraction, we're going to multiply by 4. And what we do to one side, we need to do to the other. So k is equal to 7 times 4, which is 28. Looking at our last page, we have two more two-step equations and then two graphs to fill out. Looking at number 49, we want to take 8n minus 8 equals 24 and find what n is. So we are going to add 8 to both sides to cancel out the 8's on the left. That is left with 8n equals 32. And then we are going to divide both by 8, and that'll give us n is equal to 4. Number 50, we have 7 plus 2n equals 47. We are going to subtract 7 from both sides, and we will be left with 2n is equal to 40. Then we need to get our n alone, so we're going to divide by 2. Those will cancel. We will also divide our 40 by 2, which will give us n equals 20. For our two graphs, I gave you the information for the table and asked you to complete the equations using the information in the tables, and then you will draw your graph. So we are going to look at the relationship between our x's and our y's in our table. First thing I notice is when our x is 0, our y is also 0. So it doesn't look like we'll have any sort of addition going on. It seems like it'll be a multiplication. When x is 1, y is 3. And when x is 2, y is 6. When x is 3, y is 9. So I notice each one of these is going up by 3 in the y's compared to when the x's go up by 1. So that means that our y is equal to 3 times our x. So y equals 3x. For graphing, we will look at our points in our table. We have 0, 0. We have 1, 3. We have 2, 6. And 3, 9. So your line should look something like this. For our second graph, we look at the table first to determine our equation. And the first thing I notice is when x equals 0, y does not. So that means we must have some sort of addition going on after our x is being multiplied. The question is it being multiplied? Well, the y's don't just go up by 2. It goes up by more than that each time. The y goes up by 4 each time. So that means that we can say y equals 4x, because our y's go up by 4 each time. And then we can also add 2